Why are fighting game devs so scared to nerf the top tiers? It's another year of patch season and we've had some pretty decent patches across the board. GuiltyGearStrive, despite the fact the top tiers have stayed where they are, have fixed a ton of their problems. And heading to Street Fighter, well, it feels like a nothing burger patch with a lot of the top tiers definitely staying top tiers despite getting hit. For example, my Shiranui definitely got a good list of nerfs, however, she got some compensation buffs, so she'll definitely still be in the meta. But wait, there's more. Not only have these characters stayed where they are, a bunch of characters have been buffed up to their position. Like, don't get me wrong, it's very hard to tell if the meta right now, you have to give it a bit of time, but who knows, those Jamie buffs could do something mad, or those Manon buffs could maybe make her as strong as Geef, but who knows. And this is a trend I've noticed, and not just in fighting games, this happens in almost every other genre, where there's a top tier, definite top tier, no arguing it, we know they're top tier, they stay top tier for ages, and then characters get buffed to that point, and the game's power level spikes up. I want to talk about it with fighting games, and as someone who's had to deal with a top tier for about 4 or 5 years of a game's lifespan, I can totally get it. I'm going to talk about the top tiers a little bit, and then some of the points to do with the new top tiers, and then I'm going to explain why these characters stay where they are. To start us off, looking at GuiltyGearStrive, Happy Chaos was a top tier for 4 years. Without a doubt, one of the top 1 characters that we just knew. There was no arguing it, we just knew. And then Ramlethal, a character who's always been in the upper echelon, has never been changed to a point where I don't think she's bottom 5, same with Leo Whitefang. These characters have been running the game for ages. If you look at any form of finalist, like an Evil finalist, Arc World Turk, it tends to be those characters. It really does. The only time where it wasn't was Nagore Yuki, and he's been very flippy on the tier list spectrum. He's been there, and he's not been there. And looking at Tekken 8, a character has been allowed to be top tier for ages since about the launch of the game was Nina Williams. That character was a genuine, disgusting threat since day one. She's never left the top 5 in my mind. Yet, all she ever gets is compensation buffs for the patch that they're in. She hardly gets changed in a way where I'm all like, oh, that's a very significant nerf. And she's still good. Like, she's never allowed to be bad. And of course, in Street Fighter, you've had Ryu, who's been a top tier menace since season 2 and has been like that for about 3 years now. He's really good in these patches. And in my Shiranui since launch is another thing to keep in mind. She was just dominating and it was very brain dead, not fun to fight. Point being, these top tiers have been allowed to be top tier for a long time. A really long time. But what ends up happening is, instead of nerfing these top tiers to a heavy degree, end up buffing the rest of the cast to meet that same power level sometimes. I think the best example of this would be Potemkin. Potemkin in season 4 of GuiltyGearStrive got buffed to such an insane degree because they took away Karas, then reworked them, and then gave him back as Karas. He was a top 5 pick, definite top 3, top 4 pick right now. And he's been like that since season 4. He's been a very strong pick since those buffs. And it tends to be the case where a lot of new top tiers are created. That happens a lot in a lot of different fighting games. I wouldn't be surprised if there was a character discussion going to happen with some of the other Street Fighter characters in this next patch. One thing I find interesting is that there are some top tiers that will get nerfed specifically. Best case example of this was Happy Chaos. After 4 years of his reign, is basically a bottom 5 pick now. Even though he could do some insane stuff, he's bottom 5. And Sol Badguy, who is a menace on the launch of GuiltyGearStrive, has just not been that meta relevant for a long time. For about 3 years now, he has not been meta relevant whatsoever. So it's almost like there are some top tiers that they want to nerf. There's some top tiers that they look at and go like, we have to nerf these top tiers. We can't allow them to be top tier any longer. And it's very curious, how does that happen? Now we're at the point in the video where we talk about why they do not change the top tier agenda, why they do not change some of these characters to fit the rest of the roster. Well, I think there's multiple reasons. I think the first one that you have to know is that they don't want to change the game's meta too much, as we live in a tournament heavy environment right now. Looking at Street Fighter, you've got EWC, Capcom Pro Tour, and of course you've got EVO basically happening 3 times a year now. There are so many high level tournaments, they don't want to patch this game too much because it'll make it a bit hard to adapt with every tournament. Best case example of this, 2XKO, where their top tier's been Ari since launch. They don't really change the game that much, and the one time they did change the game, there was VSF, a huge tournament, and they agreed to play on the previous patch not to mess up the players. So I think that is a factor you need to keep in mind. You can't heavily change a game when we're in the middle of tournament season. So I think that's a viewpoint to really take in. I think it can also be done for the sake of marketing as well. Like, there's some characters they want to stay top tier because of their relevance among the community, or they're like a marketable plushie. I think the best example of this is looking at GuiltyGearStrive. Your top tiers are Potemkin, who is a fan favourite, Ramlethal, who is also a fan favourite, and Nagoriyuki, one of their newer designs, who's also a fan favourite. And Mei is always in that limbo, again a fan favourite character, but it's kind of interesting because if you want to go market and you try to make Bridget top tier, wouldn't you? But she's nowhere near there because I don't think a lot of Bridget players are playing the game, so they don't have to cater to that. That's my guess at least, but you know what I'm saying. It's very interesting how marketing wise you can see why some characters might be stronger than others. Like Ryu in Street Fighter, he's the main guy and he's really goddamn strong. So it almost feels like they understand what characters they want to be top tier a lot of the time. In my arguing case, I don't think they want to shake up the meta to a heavy degree. I feel like they want to try and create an iconic top tier. Because there's one top tier that has never gotten flack throughout history, and I feel like there's a lot of people who want to capture that same lightning in the bottle, being Fox from Smash, or even Ken from Street Fighter 3. These are very iconic top tiers. People look towards these characters and go like, oh damn, they're sick as hell. I want something like that in my fighting game. Despite the fact that these games came out today, the fan base would be mad, hate it, and want these characters nerfed. And it's very interesting how people look back at that type of stuff. Could be a viewpoint. I don't think it is the viewpoint, but it could be. Could be an iconic top tier. I could see it. And this last point mostly goes down to Japanese developers. A lot of time, Japanese fighting game devs listen to only Japanese players. It comes to the entire world, every region, they have their own meta. You have to keep that in mind. Everywhere has their own meta. It's a little bit difficult to be all like, oh, well, definitely should be nerfing this character when you've got two regions that agree, but over in Japan, they may not agree on that character being top one. And I think that is also a huge factor. It's like you've got all these different places with their different metas, so it's kind of hard to pinpoint who's the strongest, even though to some parts of the world it's very obvious who's the strongest and needs to be changed. To end off the video, some characters are going to stay top tier for a very long time, and I think it's just due to comfortability. They are not comfortable with changing the meta up in a way where players are left up to interpretation after some heavy changes. Do I think modern devs are going to get better with this stuff? Absolutely. I mean, GuiltyGearStrive's the proof in the pudding of that. One of their top tiers finally got shot to hell. You just need to shoot the rest. And Street Fighter are confident that Mai is definitely a problem. They're just not confident to get rid of the problem yet. And then with Ryu, they're just sort of ignoring him. I don't know why. So we have to wait and see, and with enough time, potentially these games could get better with their balancing. As it for today's video, be sure to like, hype, sub, and tell me what you think. Do you think there's any points that I missed out about the top tiers, or do you think that I'm talking a whole lot of BS and you've got your own viewpoint? Besides all that, I'll catch you in the next one. See ya! Tokan.